Alplan 2026 provides a whole range of tools to improve and control all the phases related to foundation excavations. Let me explain better. What we see here on the right is actually not a single excavation, but an excavation that was carried out in successive phases. So just as it happens in reality, we have a main excavation. After that, we have a second excavation here and another one here, plus a series of additional excavations to define, each time, for example, those related to footings rather than pits. Everything is carefully documented directly within the object palette, which allows me to easily turn on and off the individual main or secondary excavations whenever necessary. Each of these elements is internally defined as an operator, but let's take a look at everything directly inside Alplan. Here inside Alplan, I have my excavation. The excavation can be queried at any time with a double click to manage, for example, all the purely graphic aspects as well as the numerical aspects. So here we can see that we have a main excavation, a lower ramp, a central ramp, an upper ramp, pits, footings, and so on. So among other things, we have a whole series of geometric information such as the excavation volumes for each of those elements. Now here, potentially directly from the object palette, I can turn individual portions of the model on and off. So, for example, I want to turn off that layer of gravel that I had inserted directly inside my excavation. At the same time, I'm going to turn off a series of footings. So I'm going to turn off all the excavations generated for the construction of my footings. I double click on my model and now on one side my footings disappear, so I can intervene and actually see all the different phases. Here I forgot to turn off the excavation for pit A, but that's no problem. I'll turn it off and maybe I'll also remove the excavation for the lower ramp, the central ramp, and the upper ramp. I double click on my model so that I can see only the main excavation. Now I have a modification not only visually but also when I query my model, I can see all its detailed geometric information. At any time, I can enable other types of excavations. So using the exact same technique, a double click on my excavation, I can interact to quickly and intuitively analyze the main excavation, the lower ramp, the central ramp, and the upper ramp. Okay? So let's give it an OK. At this point, let's carefully re-enable all of our components, and then let's do another double click on my excavation to see how we have now successfully populated the reference palette with all of the components that are currently enabled. This kind of technique can be extremely useful for what purpose? For example, to perform analysis. How so? Maybe by using a report. We have a dedicated report specifically for foundation excavations. In this case, all the excavations that can actually be divided will be analyzed directly on screen. So we'll find them listed like this, clearly with all the information related, for example, to the cubic meters that have been excavated.